Um, Very good afternoon to all of you. I'm very happy to be part of this webinar on legal approach to climate change, organized, as a part of the, negotiations to involve the people from different, walks of life, in the name of a conference of people organized by CGR. They have been doing this kind of a work for a long time, I know. And last year also, they have organized this people's, conference of people. And it's a very unique, initiative. I've not heard anything like that, elsewhere happening, involving the people and experts to discuss about the climate change related issues when the COP meeting is going on, parallelly. So many congratulations to CGR for organizing this. First of all, I'd like to thank Sri Lakshman Reddy Garu, Mrs. Madam, Lakshman Reddy Garu, Professor Pushpa Reddy sir, the noted environmentalist and the chief advisor of CGR, Dr. Sai Bhaskar Reddy, who is the backbone of the whole efforts. Thank you very much for inviting me and providing this opportunity to share some of my views with all of you. I also, I'm very happy to share the platform with Mr. Pavan, who is going to join, and the other esteemed speakers, Sri Harshita Chada, Mahesh, Mr. Mahesh Mamindla, then Dr. Divakar Babu, who is the principal of Siddhartha Law College. It is a very special occasion to, look at the legal aspects today. As you all know, the COP27 climate change conference is going on in Egypt right now. This is happening in Sharm el-Sheikh, a city in Egypt, and it also marks 30 years of the adoption of United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Popularly, we call it UNFCCC. And we are also discussing this point after 7 years of the Paris Agreement that was adopted in 2015. Lots of efforts have been taken to deal with climate change. Mitigation, adaptation measures have been taken at the global level and at the national level to mitigate the adverse effects created by climate change. But somehow we are all promising well, and we are lagging behind implementation aspect. It's not that it is just only because of the political will, lack of political will, we are not able to do, or the participation, but it involves many other efforts. So that makes the implementation challenging. So this year, particularly, the COP27 has the slogan, the together for implementation. So that is the major thrust in which they are organizing this COP27 meeting. So the major focus is now today on implementation aspect. So when implementation is identified as one of the major focus issues, how we are going to ensure that what are the the measures that the nations like India can do is very important to think about. It's a long journey, as you know. In 1992, the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, first of all, it pledged to, deal with climate change by reducing the greenhouse gas emissions drastically. And they have also provided the targets to the developed countries, because at that time, at the negotiation, it came very visible that the developing countries and underdeveloped countries, they have not contributed much to the climate change. Only the developed countries the industrialized advanced countries, so they have contributed much to the present crisis. So they have stated that we need to fix the responsibility more on them and less on the developing countries and underdeveloped countries. This was captured in a principle called common but differentiated responsibility with respective capabilities. So this is the first attempt which happened in 1992. With the adoption of 1997, the Kyoto Protocol, they have identified the targets to be followed and implemented by the Annex 1 countries. They are identified as the industrialized nations which have contributed for the climate change. Then, the implementation period was given. Then, it was found, even though those countries, they have taken certain measures to reduce greenhouse gases. And, they've implemented so many programs with the help of other countries, but still it was, way behind the expectations. Then, the commitment period of the Kyoto also comes, it was over. Then, they were thinking about, how to extend it or how to create a new legal framework. Then came the Paris Agreement. The Paris Agreement for the first time came with an innovation. Usually in international law, after negotiations, the conference of parties or the negotiating parties who intend to undertake any legal commitments, they will identify the targets and they will fix it in the international meeting itself. Then that will be introduced into the convention, and that should be, because that is at the top level they are discussing, and that will be adopted by all the states and they will implement it at the local level. So it's a top-down method. But it has been identified in the climate change regime that it is not working very well, because many countries are not joining. Most of the allegations came against China and India, that these are major advanced countries as of now at the present context, and they pollute a lot. Unless they join hands, the climate change regime will be meaningless. So we have to include them also. But our argument was that we were not, we have not contributed much to the climate change, but definitely we will do whatever within our capacity we can do that. So this kind of the difference of opinions were floating, and there are many other countries. They were also either they are saying that we are a developing and underdeveloped countries, so we are not party. We will not accept the binding legal agreements. And secondly, even those advanced countries, they have undertaken the binding legal agreements. They have not implemented it, to the fullest satisfaction of the commitments given there. So it was identified during the negotiation process that led to a Paris Agreement that it is better to, invite the targets or the commitments from the countries themselves. That was the Durban platform that initiated this approach, and it was very well. It worked very well. The idea was that let us ask all the countries that how much they can contribute to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and positively to contribute, reduction of climate change. All the countries came out with some kind of a, action plan that we could, reduce greenhouse gases, or we will shift to the, fossil fuels to alternative fuels, and we will also make other measures to, deal with mitigation and adaptation. So all those, plans were exhibited. This is called nationally intended, contributions. Intended nationally determined contributions, INDCs. So it was just intended and nationally determined, and it is just a contribution. It is not legally binding. Okay. So initially it started like that. And, once, all the countries have submitted that this much we are able to do, then it became a good idea for them that, let us make it mandatory. Let us ask them to implement at least this much. Then we will proceed from this further. So in Paris Agreement, what they have done is that they have only aggregated all these commitments, and they said that let us implement whatever has been already identified possible by the countries. Now it has become INDs, Intended National Determined Contributions. So now the Paris Agreement is now on the strong footing, that there is no division between the Annex 1, Annex 2 countries, like the developed countries, developing countries. There is no such thing now prevailing. All the countries are parties to Paris Agreement. They are coming from developing countries category, or underdeveloped countries category, countries in transition, and also the developed countries. So all the countries are there to deal with the climate change effects. It's a beautiful development in international law itself, I'd say. So it is a bottom-up approach, and also, guided by the international thing. So you can say that it's a bottom-up approach, or a mixed approach of both the top-down as well as the bottom-up. It's a classic example of how the democratic way of international lawmaking. And all the countries, when they have given these commitments, now they have the option to implement on it. And for that, you need financial support, technology transfer, implementation, push. So all these are required in every state. And the Paris Agreement also made a point, clear that, every 5 years, let us, see that, this is being upgraded. The targets that we have, fixed get upgraded, and we will not go down, and it will be going up only. So that is a way that, you can implement the climate regime in a better way. So like that, they try to, reduce the rise of a global average temperature to well below the 2 degree Celsius, then and ideally under 1.5, above the pre-industrial levels. They also wanted to, build the ability and the capacity of the peoples and the communities to deal with climate change, and to build the resilience in each countries, and at the local level also. So building the resilience is very important, because now the mitigation of the climate change is really, we all know that it has limitations. You are not going to stop climate change. Let's understand the fact. There is no way possible to stop climate change from one point of time. So now it is going to be like this. We have to live with it, and it is going to aggravate slightly more, and we have to slow down our aggravating activities only. That's the only thing we can do. Then in that case, the adaptation is so important here. How you and I will be able to adjust with the situation. And if the income sources are disappearing, so how we will be able to move to the alternative ways, and how we are able to cope with the damages that is being caused by the climate change at every level, at the village level, at the family level, village level, state level, national level. So you have to have some kind of the backup and the capacity. That's called the ability to overcome the difficulties. That's called we call it resilience. Creating the resilience. So this is what we have tried to achieve through the Paris Agreement, and also creating the funding, financial plans for that purpose. So it has been a big challenge at the international level. Right now, what is happening is that, see, we have created a green fund, but, many countries have not contributed. And so now, they are, negotiating that, how to ensure this fund flow. And also, the countries are still, even today, they are hesitant in, sharing the technology. Because I told you that implementation, it is, many people identify that, it is because of the political will, or people cooperation is not there. No, that is one issue only. The major issue is that if anyone wants to be, a climate, friendly, industry or entrepreneurship, you need to invest a lot in equipments, technology, That requires a lot of money, funding, and it requires new technologies. And these are protected, under IPR regime. So there is a provision under the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, as well as under the Paris Agreement, that the countries, those who have good clean technologies, try to share it with other countries, technology transfer through technology transfer measures, so that the other countries who are not able to invent much or not able to have best technologies will benefit from this. And this is still a problem that we are not able to identify, because the countries don't want to share it, and because it is with the private parties. So anybody who is a patent holder is normally who would like to share for a free of cost or for a less price. For the humanity, we have to now think about it. They have to think about it, everyone. So the countries and the conference of parties should come out with some kind of viable methods, some incentives, some award systems, okay, some recognition for those who are ready to share the technology with the developing countries. We have not come out with such things, okay. So if you are an inventor, if your technology is going to be significantly useful for developing countries, small island countries and all, and if you are encouraged to share that, and if you are made as a hero, and you are really celebrated in the conference of parties, definitely anybody would like to know. Money is a small thing for anyone, big industries, so they can definitely come forward. If you could recognize, targeted work has to be undertaken in such measures, okay. And coming to the national scene, how to ensure through legal frameworks to work the climate policies. India is one of the pioneers in taking climate change measures. There's no doubt about it. We came out with the first implementation mechanism in 2008, much before many countries started. The National Climate Change Action Plan. It came out with 8 missions, and they have added with 4 more missions to deal with the different facets of the climate change. It works. That is the only document that we have, a policy document that deals with the climate change, regulation and monitoring and implementation in India. Even though we have several laws, for example, Air Pollution Act, the Prevention of Air Control, the Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1981, it directly deals with climate. Because the emissions coming out from industries or any operators that that use the fossil fuels, that ultimately ends up in the atmosphere. Then the vehicular pollution. So we have such laws are there, but their contribution to climate change is too limited. And we do not have a special law on climate change in India. There is a high time that now that we should think of adopting a climate change law at the earliest. Efforts have already been taken. A draft has been already prepared. The government is working on it, but for many reasons, it has not seen the light of the day so far. So one is ending the greenhouse gas emissions, ending the coal related fuels in the industries at the source itself, so that you need not worry about the climate change later when it is coming out as emissions. So this is the approach to cut the carbon emissions at the source itself. Another approach is that you are not, because there are arguments that in India cannot drastically change the fossil fuels. So we may slowly, phased manner only, we will be able to eliminate fossil fuels. So for that, we will continue to use it for some time then, but anyway, we will be working on alternative fuels like solar or wind energy, thermal energy, other things. So that is also working on. Then in that case, how to curtail the emission level when you use the same fossil fuels and other polluting sources. So how to reduce the emissions, greenhouse gas emissions that end up as a big problem for climate change. And what kind of legal measures we can take for that, or financial incentives we can give to the industries. So that is another approach that we have to look at when we talk about the legal aspects of climate change. India is really committed, but the legal mechanism is one thing that is wanting here. India has already stated that we are taking all measures to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, particularly the emissions intensity in its GDP level by 45% by 2030. This is our commitment to the Paris Agreement. And also we have committed that we will be achieving our long-term goal of reaching net zero emissions by 2070. So this is also our measures. But if we want to achieve all this, you have to, our electricity generation, our energy generation has to be looking for different other methods, not based on the coal. And that is really going to be very harmful for environment. So we have to, as a country, it is now its major focus is promoting solar stations, solar grids, to promote the energy production through solar. That is one thing. Secondly, wind energy is one of the major threats, tidal energy. Then we are also looking for other alternatives, so that the vehicular pollution can be stopped. Because now, most of the vehicles are turning into the electric vehicles. Okay, so very soon, we have to introduce drastic measures to eliminate the petrol, diesel cars and the industries which are running with the help of the coal, and we have to move towards the electric-based or solar-based sustainable technology. Then only we'll be able to sustain as a country also, and global climate change can be reduced. Let us see how it goes. And for this, all this, a policy will not help. An action plan will not be adequate. My major thrust here would be that we need a legally binding commitment. And that can be possible only with the help of an enforceable law. Why we need a law for climate change is, if there is a law, it will fix the duties clearly. If anybody violates it, he will be, or the companies will be, taken to task in the courts. So the liability will be created. Then nobody will be, willing to violate the law. It will create a kind of pressure on the people to follow it. Otherwise, if we are just going with the soft instruments like national policies, then it becomes so flexible for the companies to maneuver the things and to pollute. This is what is happening now. Not only in climate change, the pollution control regime in India is facing the same problem. Even though you have Water Act, Air Act, Environment Protection Act. See the situation of the country. I'm living in Delhi now, that the kind of the air quality right now, outside the house, in the public places is alarming. So we have reached such a level that, we need some, strong measures, drastic measures that ensures, effective implementation of the law and the legal commitments, number one. Number two, creating proper liability regimes. If somebody is not following it, somebody is still polluting, that goes against the national commitments, then we should be able to take action against them. And also based on the liability, you claim compensation for the victims who are suffering, as well as for the environment to improve. And thirdly, the whole process has to be based on the transparent actions and accountability, because the agencies also have to answer to the people. So we need to create such systems that all the actions taken by the government and the departments in dealing with climate change has to be so transparent that people should know that what is happening. And the accountability, if anywhere goes wrong, including the state or the departments or the industries, they should be made accountable. So this should be the major thrust of our the whole legislative, the framework that we are planning to come out with. One last point. Even though we are talking about the binding legal commitments, when we talk about the legal aspects of climate change, that alone cannot, in fact, take care of environment, because a legal aspect is only a tool. So who is going to operate it? It's only you and me, So we have to, as people, we have more responsibility. We cannot just think that the Pollution Control Board will come and clean the whole country, or the industries will come and reduce all the climate damaging emissions. No, that's not going to happen. We may only create all this. That will be a part of the game. That's all. The people of the country, the people of the world have to come forward to take our own measures wherever possible to reduce our carbon footprint. That is very important. Because as per the Constitution of India, Article 51AG says that it shall be the duty of every citizen of India to protect and improve the environment. So we have major role. We have to see that, how we can reduce the vehicular pollution, how to maintain the cars properly, how to maintain our, motorbikes or the, other instruments properly, so that the pollution level is curtailed, using them, only at the minimal level. And wasting, the energy sources should be stopped or, reduced, so that the energy generation is also, because energy generation comes with a lot of cost, that also polluting. So once we reduce the energy usage, that also gives a lot of scope for, ultimately the climate change, effects. So like that, as some best practices that we have to identify and we should follow, then we will be definitely having a better future. With these words, I would like to end. I would like to thank profusely the organizers, CGR, for conducting such a wonderful program when the COP27 is going in the world.